right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Thrive and Survive Research Hub. I have my co-host, Tineiwo. T, how are you doing today, brother?
I'm good, Alex. I'm good. How you doing, eh?
Nah, outstanding. Yeah, we were just talking off camera now about last night. It is the 22nd of October, and the Springboks just won the semifinals against England. And I said to my family last night, we went into halftime and everybody just wrote us off. And, I thought about the principles that you can take from this performance, because I think there's examples of symbolism and philosophy that you can draw from sport that apply in life as well. And the big thing for me was, can you win when you're not at your best? Because everybody on a good day can show up and get shit done. But on the bad days, what do you do?
Yeah.
And the thing as well for me, it reminded me of Manchester United when Sir Alex Ferguson was the manager. They would come and they would steal these victories. It was legendary. It was called Fergie time.
Yeah.
In extra time, they would score the winner. And the character of these teams was the thing that would carry them through. So for me, that's what I thought to myself last night. I even said it on my Instagram. My dad has a saying that he said since I was a child. It's not how you start, it's how you finished. And in
Yeah.
that game last night, England was outplaying us pretty much every minute of the game
Yeah.
up until the last 10 minutes. And the thing is, whilst they were outplaying us, they didn't convert.
Yeah.
So it's also a reminder of, what's your outcome? The outcome in this example, the outcome of a rugby match is not to look good when you play. The outcome is to score the most points. So, I heard a lot of people saying last night, and I'm not going to speak about this rugby the whole time, but
Yeah.
I heard a lot of people saying, oh, the Springboks, they didn't deserve to win, or England deserved to go through because they looked better. But what does deserve mean?
Yeah.
The better team on the day made the outcome a reality for themselves, which is
Yeah.
scoring
Yeah.
the most points. And I
Yeah.
think for us in life as well, it's important to not get lost in the actions,
Yeah.
in the day-to-day actions, and forget what your actual outcome is. What are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted to share that with you. I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, definitely. I totally agree with you there. It's like I think at the end of the day, what I picked up from the way the game ended was, like, and this is the reality about life, right? There's what you deserve,
Mm,
and then there's what happens.
mm,
What happens is reality.
yeah,
It's reality. What you deserve, yes, you can get it. You can get it, but the reality is that what you deserve is what you deserve, and what happens is what matters. So, what
100%.
happened on the day was that the Springboks won.
Yeah,
The score dictates who won, and inside the story, there's reasons as to why they won, and
yeah,
that's the end, bro. What you deserve, and whatever. When people make comments like that, I just think that um, I'm not gonna say you don't understand enough, but like
I think they missed
it
the
was
point.
written in the it was written in the books. If it's in the
Yeah,
books, it's now in the books. Or your
exactly.
comment is doesn't add any value. Any negative comment towards it doesn't add any value.
Yeah, and the thing is
So
as well, it's like there's a lot of intangibles that play a part in this kind of situation. Because for me, you think about it like this: the conditions that the Springboks were playing in were the worst kind of conditions for them to play in, because it was a wet night on the other side of the world. England plays in that kind of weather all the time.
yeah,
England basically had a home crowd because they had so many of their supporters there. And for South Africa, they were playing in difficult conditions and the things were not going their way. You can't say it was a lucky performance, because for the first 70 minutes, a lot of 50, I don't want to say 50-50 decisions, but more like when chance can go one way, it was going the other way.
yeah,
And it's like a day when your performance can, because we're all human, everyone makes
Yeah.
mistakes. It's a bad day to make mistakes for your human side to come out when it's a
Yeah.
knockout thing,
Yeah.
you know. But the intangible that I wanted to talk about is character
Yeah.
and grit and drive.
Yeah.
People underestimate the impact of never giving up.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to criticize France because I think they played very well in this tournament. But something I noticed is, as soon as in the last quarterfinals, as soon as South Africa took the lead at the end, their heads dropped and their posture just changed. And it was almost like they lost all belief and they'd been leading this whole time and they couldn't find what was necessary to fight back. And England had the
Yeah.
same thing yesterday.
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, I like to say you make yourself very difficult to beat when you refuse to give up,
Yeah.
because people, the person that you're fighting or whatever it is you're fighting, if it's a challenge, if it's an obstacle, it just thinks to itself, damn, like this oak will just not give up.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
another thing I wanted to add here is sometimes you're going to lose, and that's outside of your control. But
Yeah.
the question is, how are you going to lose?
Yeah.
Are you going to lose with integrity and with honor, and you're going to go down fighting? Or are you going to lose because you gave up? And that's something that I wanted to highlight about this performance last night, is like, we arguably, for majority of the game, most fans probably felt like we were going to lose. I was very nervous, and I know my family was as well. And I thought to myself, well, if we're going to lose, I want us to lose playing to the best of our, you know, potential
Yeah.
till the last second, so that we
Yeah.
can have pride. You
Yeah.
know, it's like you say, you play for the badge on the jersey. You know, you're not playing for yourself. So if you're going to lose, conduct yourself with some
Yeah.
class, I would say.
100%.
And yeah, I mean, that's me finding the poetry and symbolism in a rugby match. But like, I couldn't help but think about it. I just thought that's what makes us
Yeah.
proud of them, is the
No,
fact
it's
that,
such a beautiful story.
yeah,
And also, I think also they've become known, and I always feel like it's become something that they are viciously known for.
yes,
If they score, if the game is tight and they score in the last 10 minutes of the
mm,
game,
mm,
they're gonna win.
exactly.
So they've got this momentum, and they almost did it to Ireland. Ireland were just lucky by that call at the end. But
Sure.
like the Springboks are the most dangerous in the last 10 minutes of the game. It's almost like something that no other team can do.
Well,
They've done so
yeah,
many times,
100%.
even outside of the World Cup. How many Springbok games have we watched
Yeah.
that come down to the last 10 minutes?
Yeah. And that's why it's never too late. You should never give up. And I just
Right.
think it's such a beautiful metaphor for life, because especially for people, you know, sometimes in life we feel like we're not where we should be. We haven't progressed the way that we should be. A lot of young people feel that way, you know,
Yeah.
especially with social media, which gives you this ridiculous comparison with, you know, I heard Jordan Peterson speak about this in his book, 12 Rules for Life. And he speaks
Yeah.
about it in podcasts quite a lot, where he says, you know, back in the day, before we were connected as a species via the internet, you were in your little town. And in every town, there was the prettiest girl in the town. And there was the shoemaker and the thatcher and the this and the that. And everybody had the opportunity to be the best at something in this small little world that they had.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that opportunity to be the best gives you this like self-belief and the self-esteem. And it, you know, it's your thing. But
Yeah.
now that we're connected via the internet, you're now your competition is the whole world.
Yeah.
So it's so much more difficult to be the best at anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
100%.
social media creates this thing of, well, you know, my achievements are not that significant because there's a 19-year-old guy on the other side of the world who's driving Lamborghinis. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And it's not realistic. It's so counterintuitive. So that's why I say it's like, a lot of people, they have this timeline mentality where they're like, well, I
Yeah.
am X age, so I should be this because someone else is that already.
Yeah.
It's never too late to
Yeah.
be the version of you that you feel you should be. And that person is it's made up of the choices that you make every day.
Yeah.
It's not the outcomes. Of course, you want to get the outcomes and you should pay attention to whether you're progressing on those things. But at the end of the day, it's your choices and your standards, which is a beautiful segue into another topic I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay.
About the importance of personal standards in life.
Yeah.
So, we talk a lot about making better choices on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And there are lots of opportunities in life, but you've got to be ready for them. It's not like they say, luck is when timing and preparation meet, or something like that.
Yeah.
Someone smarter than me came up with that quote, but it's true. Opportunities are constantly coming your way, but you've got to be ready for them. And you can't just turn it on when the opportunity comes.
Yeah.
You have to have been that person the whole time. And then
Emotion.
exactly, there's an alignment between the actions that you're making and fate and chance and luck,
Yeah.
And the thing for me is, it's difficult to be excellent in one area of your life and then mediocre across the board, because it's almost like, there's this quote by Aristotle where I think I actually have it on the board there, but excellence is not an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution.
Yeah.
It's a habit.
Yeah.
So from the moment you wake up to the moment that you go to bed, it's the way you conduct yourself, and you've got to do it when no one is looking.
Yeah.
That's the only way to be excellent, when everyone's watching.
Yeah.
And that's personal standards.
Yeah.
It's just something that I feel people don't really talk about enough, because it's often this thing of, well, okay, I'm at work and my boss has given me a task that I think is meaningless or mundane.
Yeah.
Why should I try my best with this task?
Yeah.
Well, the reason you should try your best with this task is so that when you're doing something that's not mundane, you can still deliver a high quality effort. And that's when the opportunity is going to come.
100%. 100%. And what I also think, when it comes to like that type of mindset, I always feel like, irregardless of whatever task life gives you, I feel like life gives you tasks through many different avenues. So like a job is one of life's avenues of giving you a task, siblings, personal goals, and those type of things, right? So I think once you start to look at everything as a life task from the universe, you learn to do like your best, because you know that you're doing the test for the greater good, to the universe, not to what's in front of you. And I think,
100%.
like, when you get that understanding of like, you you have to make a positive contribution to the universe through those channels, do you then change how you approach it? So for me, that's, like I always say, so critical in understanding, and that's what gives you motivation. That what gives you drive, because irregardless of what's happening in your environment, good, bad boss, a task you don't like, if you're not in the mood, you're still driven by the fact that you know that this is to contribute to the universe.
Yeah.
And pass that test. So for me, you serve yourself, dude. You serve the universe, you serve yourself. You don't serve what's in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, it's a part of your character to say, when I do something, I do it right.
Yeah.
If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. And that's that.
Yeah.
You know,
And I think it also increases your overall quality of life, dude.
big
Just doing
time.
things right.
Big time.
So you also, by doing something right, you're also contributing to overall level of happiness, emotional stability in life. And you're actually managing good karma, right? But just being a good person, just doing things right.
100%. Yeah.
So yeah.
100%. No, I love that, dude. I love that.
Yeah.
I've got another point that I'd love to discuss with you, and I also love to hear your input on this. And I think it's very relevant right now. And that's on the subject of navigating world events and how to keep things in perspective.
Yeah.
So I thought about discussing this because of the context of, in the last couple of weeks, the whole Israel-Gaza conflict. And it's been all over the news cycle, and it's been a pretty emotionally charged talking point, right? And the thing for me is, I feel like a lot of people treat it like a team sport where you got to pick a side to root for, and the information that you pay attention to is driven by which side is your side, which team is your team. And you subconsciously ignore information that, talks against the morality or validity of the cause of your team, and you highlight information that justifies the cause of your team. And the thing for me is, it's not a team sport. It's a complex, and this is not Israel, Gaza, by the way. This is pretty much every global conflict, Russia, Ukraine, whatever you want to call it. So one, it's like, okay, we have to learn to not treat these things as a team sport. Two, the news cycle is designed to charge you emotionally, because what makes you want to consume more content? You get a response to it, a stimulus to it. It's not just information. They're almost telling you what to feel and what to think. And it reminded me of a quote that I'm going to paraphrase. I don't really know the source. I think it was Richard Feynman, but he said something like, I can learn something from everyone, but no one can tell me what to think. And that was a central principle that I was thinking about. When you consume information about a world event, you have to be so careful about allowing the provider of that information to think for you and tell you what to think, instead of you identifying the information, consolidating it, and then saying, what do I think? What's my nuanced opinion that I have? And it reminds me also of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, fantastic book, where one of the habits is seek first to understand, then to be understood, which speaks about empathetic listening and approaching a situation like this with humility and the desire to really understand and not just pass judgment based off of limited information. And then the last thing I'll say, and then I'm going to loop you in because I really want to hear what you have to say about this. It seems to me to be a very counterintuitive thing to spend large amounts of time on world events that are outside of your circle of influence, because your responsibilities that are within your circle of influence go neglected. Your friends, your family, your job, your community. You're paying so much attention to strangers on the other side of the world who frankly don't need you, but the people that do need you, you're ignoring, because it's easier to pay attention to someone on the other side of the world. It's harder to take on the task of actually making a difference to the people that need you. What's your approach to handling these events? Do you just ignore it, or do you try and keep up to date with it? Like, what's your approach?
So for me, I think firstly, when it comes to address the point that you mentioned around picking a side. So for me, obviously, I mean, I'm a big believer in forgiveness, and like, I mean, they call it a two-state solution. So I'll never really pick a side, because I think like every human life is important, bro, regardless of which side it comes from. And I think history has told us that war doesn't really satisfy the winner. It just causes more bad for everyone, you know? So I think the quicker we realize that at the top, the better. But obviously, it's also hard to comment from this perspective because we're not in it. So like, we've never lost family, and we haven't experienced half the things those guys have experienced. So I always just look at it neutrally, and then I obviously consume the news as well. But like you said, I think when it comes to consuming any sort of media, you need to verify it. Read the same headlines from multiple sources, and then you then compare it to what you find in the history books, and then from that you start to understand which broadcaster is giving the most accurate story, because unfortunately not all of them will. So I think that's the way to approach like the news if you really don't want to get involved in this like picking a side thing. I call it the behavior of the masses.
Yes.
So you become a part. News is propaganda. So you become 80. You become part of the 80% who consume it and behave like them. So like I use a very good example. 80% of people's comments are the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
But all humans are not the same.
Yeah.
You see, so it tells you that there's definitely uh, a level of propaganda or convincing going on, and some people just take the story and run with it. So I think that verification puts you part of the 20% and allows you just to understand the matter a bit better, and therefore make better judgments about it, and also talk about it in a certain way.
Yeah. And echo chambers is a big thing as well.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of energy and time to do your own research to try and understand a complex issue. It's so much easier to just go with what your group is saying. And also, it's emotionally, there's a part of you that's putting yourself out on the ledge to go against what the masses are saying.
Yeah.
And you risk getting attacked
Yeah.
for that. Because, like I say, it's not so much logic, it's more emotion.
Yeah.
And in the in the Tony Robbins universe, there's a thing. So he did a seminar in Fiji, and during his seminar, 9/11 happened. So he had like a 5-day seminar, and in the middle of this 5-day seminar, 9/11 happened, and there were Americans there, and there were Arabic people there, people from all over the world. So you can imagine it was this melting pot
Yeah.
of different perspectives. And he told this story about this American woman who, when 9/11 happened, she was outraged and furious. And she was having a go at all of the people there who were from that part of the world. And then when he actually sat down and spoke to her, it turned out that she didn't know anybody in the building at the Empire State Building, or World Trade Center. Sorry, my history is not great. She didn't know anyone there. She didn't have any personal connection. Eventually, it came out that she's actually just an angry person, and she finds herself getting angry on a regular basis. And this was simply just, not to diminish the incident. It was a very big deal, but the point is this: angry people find things to be angry about. Offended people find things to be offended about. You shouldn't use the news cycle as fuel for the emotional habitual states that you have, you know, because it's saying, I'm angry, let me find a reason why, instead of something happened and then I became angry. There's a difference,
Yeah. Yeah. And I like how you comment on that, and how you, because I mean the 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 statement you just made before this speaks to like how um like you're fueled by what you also hear on the news, right?
Mm,
So your behavior and stuff like that. So like I use a very good example. Like I know in South Africa generally people always say the news is negative and stuff like that. But I mean, if people that travel, if you go to a different country and you put on the news, the news is also negative.
yeah, exactly.
Right? And a lot what I find that no matter where you go in the world, is people who obviously consume it in the wrong way ride off it negatively and just become constant complainers.
100%.
And through that are not able to see opportunity in the areas that they live in or the countries that they reside in. So
Yeah,
like you said, it's the fuel that you use. You need to be very careful, and you need to understand yourself properly before you obviously go into the stuff and consume it. So yeah, dude, I think your points are amazing, bro, and that's the reality of it. You just got to be very careful what you entertain, and when you do, express certain behavioral patterns, to be
yeah.
sure to assess them.
Yeah, I think for me, especially in this age of being permanently connected, your ability to educate yourself is limitless, but your ability to destroy yourself is also limitless.
Yeah.
Because the vehicle for those things is permanently with you. I mean, when's the last time you left your house without your phone?
Yeah, 100%.
You know, I've been doing for the last week and a bit, is when I wake up in the morning, I put my phone on flight mode. And for the first like hour and a half, I don't check messages and I don't check social media. I don't check emails, anything like that. I use my phone as a tool.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm doing like exercises and things like that, or playing some music. But I try my best to disconnect myself from this hive mind of the internet that's constantly bombarding us with things,
100%.
because you're always living in this state of emotional reactivity, you know, because reactivity is when you look at your phone and then you respond to what's there instead of being proactive and choosing how you're going to engage with your phone. So yeah, I mean, I can't say I've been doing that all the time, but I'm trying to implement that, and it's been pretty positive. I feel the mental clarity that you get from that is pretty awesome.
Because also imagine we get a lot more information these days, right? Like in the olden days, your only information was the newspaper once a day.
Yeah.
You know, and that's all you had to make judgment about everything in life. And I think if you also can, I say, consume it like in the old days, but understand that people still got through life in the olden days with less information.
Yeah.
The world was just as complex, I believe, back in the days. I think it was even harder.
Yes.
And more difficult to operate in.
Yes.
But even with us not understanding it or having full context of it, human beings were still able to make progress and become a success
100%.
of themselves. So yeah, very interesting perspective to look at it as well. But that's just my 2 cents on that matter.
Oh, I think it's such a great point, because, you know, something I actually wanted to highlight about the news cycle is that, and this, I don't know, maybe this is a controversial take, but at any point in time in the world right now, there is a violent conflict happening somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
And if you use Israel Palestine as an example, this battle that's now happened now is one incident in a long history of incidents where there has been conflicts and things, and it's a big incident, 100%. But a lot of people are only really opening their eyes to this thing now. I mean, I am one of those people. You know, I didn't really think a lot about this area of the world before, and it was, you know, when it came up in the news, I got a little bit interested in it. But the point that I'm trying to make is, you can't actually allow something like this, if you're not directly connected to it, to really disrupt your life, because then why are you not letting every other conflict disrupt your life?
Yeah.
You know, when Russia-Ukraine started, it was a big deal. But 3 months later, 90% of people stopped caring about it because it doesn't directly impact their lives. And honestly, that's probably what's going to happen with this Israel-Palestine conflict as well. If you don't have a direct connection, in 3 months from now, it's not going to affect you. And so it reminds me of this quote of, when you think about something that's going to upset you, ask yourself, in 10 years from now, is this going to matter to me? It will probably matter to somebody else, and I respect that. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have empathy or care, but what I am saying is you shouldn't use it as an excuse to be pessimistic. Oh, the world's ending. I can't do my responsibilities because of this, because there's always something going on somewhere in the world. It's the nature of the universe, chaos and order, peace and war. They will always exist. It will always exist. And, you know, I actually wrote something down that came up to me when I was journaling, where I said, you know, history has not finished being written. It will continue to be written until the end of time. And we should accept that and strive to play an active role in what will be written during our lives. history is being written right now. And the truth is, a historic event is very rarely a pleasant event to live through. The COVID pandemic was a historic event. It was not fun. World War I, World War II, Spanish flu, market crises. These are historic events, and you are part of that history. So, yeah, I mean, that's just my thoughts on it.
No, I think you said it. There's no better way to say it. I can't even add on to it. You said it perfect.
Okay, well, thank you for being
I
such
think,
a
like you said, I think
complimentary.
it's our definitely our responsibility to right here where we are and contribute to that. And like I said, just to reiterate my point, having that neutrality and obviously like
And
respecting both
empathy.
sides, not picking sides, and reading the story for what it is, because
Yes,
you just don't understand half the things that those people are going through. And the
100%.
best thing you can do is just look at it objectively and obviously keep them in your prayers and hope that it will come to an end soon.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. No, 100%. Do you have any other points you wanted to add?
Yeah. So I actually wanted to ask you from my side. Obviously, I'm going to take a bit of a right turn now.
Yeah. You're in
In
the steering wheel, wherever you
yeah,
want.
in terms of subject matter, I mean, um, I think obviously with the Rugby World Cup happening and stuff like that, there hasn't really been much of a focus on other stuff.
Mm.
You know, like obviously where we are in the year, and obviously what people generally need to do at this time of the year to set themselves up for, you know, success next year. Seeing that, I mean, November starts next week and then December, bro, then it's a new year.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to ask, what are some of the things that you would do right about now to obviously get yourself geared? Are there some things that you haven't done before during this time that you want to get right this time around?
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, I think the common thing about the year is that it passes you by so quickly. The new
Yes.
year starts, you aren't too clear about what your goals are, and then before you know it, it's March or April. So,
100%.
have you thought about that? Do you have a different approach that you want to use this year? And yeah, what's your? I just want to know what's your thought process around what I've just expressed.
I love this question, T. This is such a great topic to talk about. You know, the average person approaches their year like this, right? They come to the end of the year and they create a New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do. That's what everyone does. And by February of the next year, they've basically abandoned their New Year resolution. And the only time that they check in on that resolution again is the end of the next year. And it starts this like cycle of, why can't I change? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? For me, how I operate is I've learned focus is the number one factor that drives achievement of a goal.
Yeah.
And focus is thinking, focus is acting, focus is reviewing.
Yeah.
And not to go too much to what I was saying earlier, but just there's a lot of things today that's trying to grab your focus, because attention and focus are kind of synonymous, and attention is the commodity of the digital age, right?
Yeah.
So for me, to answer your question directly, the time of the year has no impact on the way I'm operating, because I'm always trying to chase my goals. And I'm always, I work in like a 3-month block. So I basically divide my year into 3-month goals. I have a broader goal, but I break it down into chunks to make it manageable. And every week I'm sort of reviewing the way I'm progressing towards those goals. And it's not a system that I came up with. I talk a lot about Tony Robbins. Something that I'm currently doing is one of his audio programs called the Time of Your Life program, which is a life management system. It's not a time management system. It's a life management system. Yeah. Because time is just a construct, as like psychedelic as that sounds. The calendar is a construct. Time is a construct.
Yeah.
Week is a construct. There's nothing that says on Saturday and Sunday you must just be useless and do nothing towards your goals. It's 100%. A day in your life. December is a month in your life. Birthdays are a day in your life,
100%.
And for me, what makes me happy is working on my life and trying to progress on my goals and living my purpose. That makes me happy, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
one of the mistakes I've made is for like 11 months in the year, be in the game, focused, working on my purpose, working on myself. And then December, just give in to the pressure of society to say, okay, just fuck off in December, do nothing, you know? And then the problem is, I haven't found that to be fulfilling or like happy. It doesn't make me happy, you know? Of course, I spend quality time with the people that I love and I try and reflect and do that, but I also try and do that the whole year.
Yeah.
I like to say, if you want to enjoy a vacation with your friends and family, pay attention to them the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Because relationships are not built on vacation. Vacation is a celebration.
Yeah.
Vacation is a celebration
Thank you.
of your relationship. It's not the foundation of your relationship.
Yeah.
And it's the same with gift giving and all of those things. So yeah, I'm gonna end it there, but that's my answer.
And I think it's a lovely answer, right? Because I mean, I think that speaks to momentum.
Mm.
Like you're in momentum, right? And like I always say, like I've tried to choose to I've looked at like how to rest in life in two ways. Do you like take these like large chunks of breaks once a year? Or do you take like uh many medium breaks in between? Like what's more sustainable? And for me, what's been sustainable is like, you know, every 3 or 4 months taking not a break, but having a pit stop like you have in a race, right?
Yes.
And then starting again. I feel like that way you're able to maintain momentum and then rather take a big break after a longer duration. So like every 3 years, as an example, with every 4 month breaks and holidays in between. So I think that's the most optimum way to live. And obviously, as you get older, you will take more longer breaks. But when you're still
Sure.
young and in your youth, I believe before you're 40 years old, I think you have the
That's
stamina
a
to,
fact. That's a fact.
you
I
know,
said to myself this morning, thank God I'm 26. Because
yeah.
I woke up last night. I woke up this morning at 5 after the rugby last night because I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lose my sleep schedule. I refused
Yeah.
to lose it because I lost
Yeah.
it when I came back from traveling, and it was such a
Yeah.
mission to get it back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I woke up this morning and I felt okay at the end of my morning routine, and I was like, whew, being
Yeah.
26 is great.
Yeah. Exactly. So the intervals are needed less. And like you can see as you use people around you, older people go on holiday more.
Yeah.
They need it more, right?
Yeah, sure.
And they take longer breaks as well. And they do rather like many sprints
Yeah.
rather than uh many marathons, you know?
Something to add there though is it's also ageism mentality, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just my opinion, but if somebody asks me when was the best time in my life, I say next year.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm constantly improving and I'm constantly making my life better. And I want
Yeah.
tomorrow to be better than today. And
100%.
it's like that principle. You and I talk about this all the time, delayed gratification.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, will the work that you do today make tomorrow better? And
Yeah.
if so, that means you're doing the right things. Like,
100%.
obviously, it's not to say don't be a martyr and never enjoy yourself. You can enjoy
Yeah.
yourself now. You can enjoy yourself right now. But
100%.
being wisdom is being strategic about the way you approach things and
Yeah.
having patience.
100%.
One of the things I respect so much about you is the way you navigate your life speaks to a guy who has a solid appreciation of patience. You just slowly building this foundation, and you are so wise beyond your years, honestly. Like, um it's been a pleasure to just watch it from the side, and it's an inspiration to me to follow that same approach of just being patient about the process.
Yep. Yep.
And yeah, I just wanted to share
Yeah.
that.
No, and thank you. I mean, like, it's humbling to hear that. Firstly, thank you. And I mean, I won't take all credit for it, right? Like just like you may be witnessing me, I've been witnessing other people do it as well. And
Mm.
It's also about being intentional with regards to who you want to follow and like what you want
Mm,
to present.
mm,
And also just understanding the laws of the universe, it's cosmic laws of the universe, right? The seasons in life, there's a period for building, there's a period for every single phase of life. And if you understand that, then the patience becomes a pleasure,
mm.
you know? The patience becomes fun, the fun part of it,
Yeah.
because you know consistently, based on what you're conceptualizing of the future, it's going to be better. And like you just mentioned, when someone asks you a question about when is the best time of your life, you say next year. It's because of that concept of being able to conceptualize the future based on your current decisions being fruitful for your future. And I think that spans across all departments of life: family, relationship, career, business, spiritual. Every decision you make now is going to produce a fruit in the future. And you want to make sure that it's the healthiest and the best. And yeah, the most giving back fruit that you can produce from this tree. And you are the tree of these fruits, bro. I always look at myself as a tree.
Yeah.
And like I want
I
to bear
love
a lot
that.
of fruit, bro. You know, oh yeah, exactly. Everyone is a tree, bro.
I want to bear a lot
You
of
get
fruit.
me?
Yeah,
Yeah, and
100%.
you want to bear the right fruit. And I don't want to be
Yes,
a if I'm to be a I don't want to be the other a tree that doesn't bear fruit. You know,
100%.
I want
No.
to be a
What's the
mighty
point of a
tree
tree
that
that doesn't bear fruit? Come on, man.
exactly, and I want to be the tree that
Useless.
has the birds live in it. And I want to be the tree that has everything great in it, right?
Yes.
And then I think if you approach life like that, well, then you enjoy it. There's no no
That's
one can
exactly it.
intimidate you.
You love
You
life.
know,
But it's cool. Like what you were saying there. I was having a conversation with somebody who was very frustrated about their situation. And I was just saying, you got to accept that patience is a law of the universe.
yeah.
And there's many laws, like the law of reciprocation,
Yes,
etc.,
yes, yes, yes,
etc.
yes, yes, yes.
I feel like when you start to live in alignment with those laws, you fall in love with life. You
Yes,
really fall in love with life. And it's
100%.
it's like you tap into this energy. Like I said, today, 4 hours of sleep last night. Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
26. I recognize that. But
yeah,
I've been younger than this before and not living like this
yeah,
and I felt like shit.
yeah,
But today,
100%.
because I feel like I'm living in alignment with these laws, I have that purpose and that passion and that energy
Yeah,
and that
yeah,
vitality. And something about making tomorrow better than today, there's a big element of spirituality in that
yeah,
because it's rooted in faith,
yeah,
faith and hope. To believe that tomorrow will be better than today is an act of faith.
yeah,
And when you take an action today to make tomorrow better, it's almost like a prayer to God
yeah,
to
yeah,
say, Lord, I'm sacrificing the pleasure of today for tomorrow, because that's what God teaches. It's been a
mm,
fundamental principle
mm,
of the Bible is sacrifice, and scripture is sacrifice. That
yeah,
was the whole point.
yeah,
So yeah, that's another law of the universe, is the law of sacrifice.
yeah, 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 yeah. And I think also like they say easy come easy go.
Mm,
That's the law. It's in its own. If you really dig deep into the meaning of easy come easy go, and I
sure.
live by that. If something just comes across way too easy, not that I don't appreciate it, but I question it, and I try to ask myself,
Yeah.
and I ask myself, okay, cool, this is coming easy, but now it's my responsibility. Maybe it's a blessing from another avenue to make sure I sustain this,
Mm,
because this is definitely easy come. I
yeah.
don't want easy go. So
Yeah.
what do I do to sustain it, and what do I do to make sure that it remains in my life? But generally, most of the time, I know that the more harder you work for something and the more patient you are with it, the better things will be.
That's a great point.
Because
That's a great point.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because I mean, at the end of the day, patience is a big part of strategy.
Sure.
To be patient means that you have a strategy.
Yeah.
To be impatient means that you only have tactics. Tactics are short term.
Manipulation. Yeah, it's manipulation.
Yes,
It's not character.
exactly, exactly. It's short term, but strategy is long term, and
Yeah.
that's where patience comes in.
And dude, if I can just pick apart that concept that you just brought up there of easy come, easy go. One of the
Yeah,
things I think drives that is that when you get a reward that you haven't worked for, you haven't become the person who is worthy of that reward.
Yeah.
You don't have the skills, you don't have the knowledge, the wisdom, and the experience. You haven't
Yeah.
grown into the person that would naturally
Yeah.
attract that. So,
100%.
you know, to maintain something requires the knowledge that was needed to get it in the first place.
100%. 100%.
And I think that's why that easy come, easy go principle exists, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite parables is in The Richest Man in Babylon. I'm sure you've heard of that book, or you've probably
Yeah.
read
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But there's the story in The Richest Man in Babylon about the wealthy man and his son, and how he sends his son out into the world to learn how to become wealthy in his own way, because a man who is not worthy of wealth will not keep it for very long.
Yeah.
And you see in this parable about how this young man gets given a certain amount of money and loses it almost immediately.
Yeah. You're not
Because
ready for it. You don't know the habits. You don't know what it takes.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so he could only return to his father after accumulating a fortune of his own merit and worth.
Yeah.
And then he became worthy of the reward of the inheritance.
100%.
And I think it's a beautiful metaphor for the nature of things, of how life works.
Bro. And I think that speaks to, like I said, back to laws, right? It is a
Mm,
law.
yes.
Regardless of where you come from, rich or poor, the laws apply.
Yeah.
Worthiness is given to you through behavior.
100%.
Yes, yes,
100%.
yes, yes. So I think that's what remains equal across everyone, whether you're rich or poor.
Yeah.
If you're given wealth, if you're not worthy for it through the behavioral patterns that's stated,
Yeah.
it's gone, bro.
100%. But
And
that's
that's
what,
why
yeah.
the world is so beautiful. Things cycle, bro. And like I think I
Yeah.
like this 60 to 70% of all multimillionaires in dollars are first generation multimillionaires.
Yeah.
You know, so it speaks to that concept, bro.
Yeah. Because, it's not going to stick around very long if you
Yeah.
don't win it. Yeah. No, I love
Yeah.
that.
And if you do have it, best thing you can do is that pass it down as best as you can. Or
Mm,
the universe grants you a good offspring. This offspring will try to get as much as they can from you. And that's where generational wealth comes in, right?
yeah.
Because that is fully transferred, and you don't have to listen twice if you can share it to someone and
100%.
they can, right?
100%.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
I love it. Do you have any other questions or points you wanted to discuss?
No, I think that was this. That's it from my side. Eh?
I think that's a great place to wrap up this episode.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Tia, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for, on a Sunday when you had very little sleep,
No,
showing up
yes, last night was a good night.
showing up to give me your wisdom. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for yours too. I mean, like I said, these conversations are bilateral and they mutually beneficial. So I think there's
Beautiful.
no better way to start a Sunday, you know. So thank you to you
Beautiful.
too, and thanks for your wisdom as well.
100%. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that episode half as much as I did. And there's many more coming up in the future.
Oh,
And yeah, until we meet again.
cool. Adios. Thanks, brother.